Hello, greetings, salutations. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to circle around the subject matter of hurt and why we hold on to hurt for so long. I mean, life is happening and there's a lot of good stuff happening, but if you have a similar disposition to me, like I feel like you hold on to hurt and you probably have long-standing hurt that's been festering and circulating in your system that have probably turned into resentment or grudges. The thing is, hurt starts off small, but after you accumulate more hurt without resolving it, and it becomes long-standing and it festers, it goes through different stages. So being hurt is one thing, because somebody could hurt you and you could just let it go, right? But if you haven't let it go and you've just kind of been like hoarding a lot of hurt inside of you, it eventually turns to disappointment, then sadness, depression, anger, rage, resentment, and then a grudge. I think a grudge is something that's compilation of years and years of built up hurts. So I was asking myself most recently, like, why do I hold on to the hurt? And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. I think there's a lot of people out there that are holding on to hurt. It's like, why am I holding on to the hurt? And I think we hold on to hurt because it's been unresolved. And in order to release the hurt, we need to find a particular type of understanding so that we can make peace with it and let it go. The hardest part, I think, is acknowledging, like really acknowledging, really being honest with yourself and having the conversation and dialogue and realizing that you are hurt and you've been hurt for so long, And then you have to ask yourself, well, why have I been hurt? And then a lot of people, I think the first response is, well, so and so did this to me and so did that to me and this happened to me in life. But if you think about it, where did the hurt come from? It's hard for us to admit this, but we generate the hurt. The people around us, our environment, circumstances, those are just outside of us. And I feel like they're just things that trigger us into generating hurt. And why do we generate hurt? Well, a lot of it comes from having expectations. Expecting people to be a certain way, expecting things to go a certain way, expecting life to be a certain way. And the thing is, life is the way it is. People have their own baggage that they're carrying around, so you can't really expect anyone or anything to generate what you want. Some people, like for instance, maybe you've sacrificed a lot of your time and energy to create harmony, to create connections. Then the people that you've encountered can't meet you that deep or can't generate the same amount of time, energy, or care, you know? But you expected them to. And when they don't come through, it's like you feel hurt because you generate the hurt. Does that make sense? Because of the expectations. We're expecting life to be a certain way. We're expecting people to be a certain way instead of just accepting it for what it is. So I feel like, I don't want to generalize, but it's just easier to INFJs, if you're an INFJ, I feel like you've been depressed for most of your life, or you've had a lot of moments of depression in your life. Like, you've become intimate with depression. Like, you already know what it is. Like, I know I got to a point where I knew something was coming on, and I just was like, okay, well, here it is again. Like, it wasn't even a thing, like, okay, yeah, I feel myself getting depressed. Guess I'm just gonna have to sit in this for a while and let it pass. But the thing is, I don't think it really passed. I think it just kept showing up because it was letting me know, like, yo, you've been holding on to a lot of hurt and you haven't been letting it go, and I'm really tired trying to carry all this stuff around. And I really want to put it down, but I can't put it down because you're not even aware that you're carrying it. You know what I mean? And so if the depression doesn't get your attention, then eventually that'll turn into anger or resentment or even grudges, and just kind of hits you harder. So lately I've been encountering a lot of resentment and a lot of grudges have been coming to the surface. And, I could look at it as, from a place of woe is me. And I did for some time. But now I'm just like, you know what? This is a great opportunity for me to see and acknowledge the parts of myself that I've been ignoring for a very, very, very long time, and to show it compassion and give it my attention and to work through it, to understand it, to know it, to you know what I mean? It keeps resurfacing and it comes up harder and harder if you don't deal with it when it's small. So, yeah, if I were to look back on my life, I feel like I've created an identity around just trying to keep the peace, to harmonize, to balance, to always be the one to help and uplift and save, but at the expense of myself. And I acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I probably had really unrealistic expectations on how I thought life should be or how I should be treated, but that's on me, and I think I need to take responsibility for that. And the only way you can take this stuff off is to acknowledge that, you've played a part and your role in the situation. It's not always the other people. I know other people have other things that they're carrying. So isn't it selfish to expect them to generate what you want? Kind of is. And we go about it in very manipulative ways, I feel like the people pleasing is a manipulation tactic to try to get people to give us the acknowledgement and the connections that we crave. Really, be radically honest. That's the only way you can get through it. That's the only way you can finally take the load off your shoulders. If you're candy coating it or kind of BSing your way through this, it's not going to work. It's very detrimental to yourself and to others. Yeah. So I feel like, we've probably been holding on to hurt for so long that it's solidified. So, in order to do the work to neutralize it, we have to continuously be mindful and practice. I don't want to even say, like they throw terms like forgiveness and gratitude and letting it go around so frequently, like it's so easy to do. It's not. Before you even get to the point of forgiving and being grateful and letting go, there's like a lot of different steps that you need to get or go through in order to get to that space. And first thing is acknowledging. Second thing is, instead of being critical or judgmental, inquiring, trying to understand. Also, instead of like repressing, facing it. So acknowledging, facing it, inquiring. And then I think eventually, once you've reached a particular level of these things, then you can start the forgiving and the gratitude and the letting go. But until then, I don't think you're really going to resolve anything. I feel like inquiring, understanding, that's why self-inquiry is so important. And if people are doing stuff around you that you don't necessarily like, instead of like being so quick to judge, just kind of like step back and go, I wonder why they're doing that. Like, I wonder why I want them to do this. Ask the questions, and then eventually you'll get to chip away at the long-standing emotion that's created a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual block in you, and then you'll feel lighter. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, we hold on to hurt for so long because it's unresolved, because we haven't taken the time to face it. Like, yeah, we can say, oh, I'm hurt, but did you clear it? Do you understand why you feel hurt? You know what I mean? Like, were you expecting something? Were you betraying yourself by having no boundaries and overextending again? Were you people pleasing, which is a manipulative tactic, by the way, in order to maybe coerce somebody into giving you something, whether it be, friendship or love or attention or gratitude or acknowledgement? Were you doing that? Ask the questions. And then once you ask the questions, it becomes very clear, like, what's happening, what you're contending with. And then you can forgive, accept, be grateful, and move on. A lot of times when people or things activate the hurt inside of me, before I would be very reactive, but now I just kind of like take a step back and I ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? Especially if a situation is constantly on repeat. It's like, okay, this has presented itself to me so many times. What is it trying to teach me? It's obviously repeating itself over and over so that I can learn something. What am I supposed to learn? I don't know. I guess everybody has their own time frame to learn lessons, but it took me 44 years to learn this, and it was not easy. And it's funny, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but It feels like once you feel like you've finally reached a certain level of understanding and you've cleared something, something else is bound to pop up to help you to level up even more. So it's never like, ooh, I've reached the peak of the mountain, it's over. No, it's like, ooh, I've reached the peak of the mountain. Oh, wow, now there's another one. And then you just gotta laugh because that's life, right? We're constantly leveling up or cycling. That's what it is. Anyways, I don't know if this video helped you, but I figure I'd make it and I'd share my thoughts for those of you who are struggling, because we are definitely living in interesting times. And yeah, I feel like I want to say more, but I'm not sure if I should because this is already long. A lot of the hurt that you're feeling could also be ancestral. Like, especially if you have empathic abilities and you're an emotional sponge. I know it's at times that can feel like a curse, but in actuality, it's your gift. Think about it. And what I mean by that is, so I feel like some of the hurt that I've generated within myself because it's been activated by others, so that I can release it after I do the work. So I know that part of the hurt is mine, but I also know that some of the hurt is also ancestral. Like, I feel like there was a lot of hurt that incurred in my ancestors and they couldn't clear it. So I'm here to do the work for everyone. So, and also I have a tendency to soak in the emotions of people in my environment, maybe even on a global level. I feel like I also absorb the hurt. The difference is I don't necessarily take responsibility for the hurt of the people in my environment, but I'm able to acknowledge the hurt. And if they need support, I'm able to give it to them. If that even makes sense. Like, I'm able to, instead of, before I used to take on everybody's hurt. Now I know I can differentiate like what's mine and what's theirs. And I don't take it on, but I can definitely feel it. And I can offer them space or support if needed. As far as the hurt that I've generated within myself and the ancestral hurt that I can feel that's weighing on me, I've come to a point where I've acknowledged and taken responsibility for it. Like, I acknowledge that I've generated it, so now it's my responsibility to clear it or to make peace with it. You know what I mean? Obviously, in the initial stages, it's not like that. Like, you're confused, you're sad, you're confused, you're distressed, you feel like nobody can help you. You're like, what do I do? I have all these heavy feelings. I don't know what to do with them. I just want to lie in my bed and lock myself away from the world. And yes, there are stages where you do that, but eventually you become more resilient and you become more aware, and you have, I guess, a higher threshold to deal with the pain so that you can still manage and operate yourself while processing it, you know? But yeah, I feel like once you realize that you're the generator of your own hurt, then you stop blaming people. And then you get to see that they're hurting too, And then you start clearing yourself, and then you can become a strong foundation in the world to help others who are going through or will go through what you've gone through. All right. Thank you for listening. 20 minutes long. I hope you learned something. If you did, that's great. If you didn't, that's great too. Blessings to one and all. Amen.